Now let's go to local concerns that have arisen in the wake of this tragedy. Locals and experts have raised their fears about the storage of ammonium nitrate at the Port of Newcastle in New South Wales. Explosives company Orica stores somewhere between 3 and 6 times the amount of ammonium nitrate believed to have exploded in Beirut at its Kooragang Island facility. This means that just across the Hunter River to the south and west is the Newcastle CBD, and across to the east is the Stockton Beach residential area. Orica has been in strife previously for air pollution drifting across settled areas from this plant, and now there are serious concerns about the risks of the stored explosive material. One person raising these concerns is local retired explosives expert Tony Richards, and he joins me now. Tony, tell us about your concerns. You know ammonium nitrate and you know what it's used for. The quantities stored at Orica, do they concern you? Surely they're secure and well cared for.
And absolutely, I'm sure that they are secure and well cared for because Orica is that type of company. But if you or your viewers or listeners were to Google something like explosives accidents, ammonium nitrate accidents, that sort of thing, you'll see that that there were big companies, and we only have to go back to 2001 in Toulouse in France, where their ammonium nitrate plant blew up. And if you ask them the day before, the week before, the month before that happened, causing countless deaths and billions of dollars worth of damage, they would have said exactly the same thing, that in fact we have everything in place, everything is in good order. Now, the problem with this stuff and the problem with the explanation that they give is no matter how carefully they look after the product, no matter how safe they are, no matter what processes they put in place to protect their stockpiles, things can go wrong. And when they do go wrong, you see what happens at somewhere like Beirut or Toulouse in France or Texas in the US, or even locally where we've had last year, the year before, we had that truck up near Gladstone that had 50 tonne going up the road and it caught on fire and eventually blew up. And when it blew up, by the way, the police report said that every tree in a radius of over 1 kilometre was flattened completely. Now, that's just with a small quantity of 50 tonne as opposed to the 12,000 tonnes that they have stored at Orica and another 12,000 tonnes at Crawford's Trucking, owned by Incitec and Orica.
Well, look, it's important we're not alarmist about this. We've got to be frank about this. We've got to be careful and talk about and raise the issue. But I want to go to a statement from Orica so to put their point of view and some historical facts into play. Ammonium nitrate is not an explosive, they say. It's an inert substance. You have to be extremely negligent with this material for it to explode. In Beirut, the product was seized and abandoned in a warehouse for 6 years. It was overseen by people who did not work in the industry and apparently had no safety protocols. The video footage suggests that fireworks were stored close by and reports say that a welder started the fire. This cannot be compared to the responsible and heavily regulated production, storage and transport of ammonium nitrate by Orica and others in Australia. In addition to our own rigorous approach to safety and risk management, our operations are highly regulated and regularly inspected by authorities. We undertake site-wide emergency response exercises and an annual exercise with local emergency services. The storage areas are fire-resistant, built exclusively from non-flammable materials, and have designated exclusion zones around these areas. And it's important to note that there's not been a single incident involving the storage of ammonium nitrate in Kooragang Island in its 51-year history. Now, that's all very, very reassuring, isn't it, Tony? But it also shows just how careful they need to be with this material, the protocols in place, and it raises the question of whether such a site should be so close to a CBD and residential areas.
And let me point out a fallacy of the statement they've made. When they say that you need other ingredients, that it's just an inert product and it's a fertilizer. Of course, that is true, except for, take for example the truck that blew up in Queensland in Gladstone. Now, to make the ammonium nitrate an explosive product properly, to get a perfect oxygen balance, you need 94.5% of ammonium nitrate by volume.
I wouldn't want to go into too much detail on air about those issues, Tony, for obvious reasons. But you're saying it of course can be dangerous, as we've seen.
Well, the product in Queensland, the truck, nobody could have mixed the product. It still blew up. It blew up because it caught on fire. And when it catches on fire, once it reaches 170 degrees Celsius, then it becomes molten. It looks a bit like golden syrup, but its viscosity is more like honey. It's not quite as thick. But the point is, if that is struck with anything, that will explode. And that doesn't need any other chemicals. It doesn't need anything at all. That's just from the fire. And otherwise, please explain and get them. Orica, ask them, how did that truck possibly blow up in Queensland if that's not factual? And I know they know it's factual.
Tony,
films.
Tony Richards, thanks for raising the issue with us.
You're welcome.
Tony Richards, a Newcastle local and explosives expert. You heard all that. You've seen what's happened. You've seen how careful Orica are. So I think questions will be asked again about just all those plans, all those emergency and safety plans around that site.